Imagine waking up one morning to find your entire city underwater, not from a typhoon or a flood, but permanently submerged beneath rising seas. For millions of Filipinos, this isn't science fiction. It's a countdown that has already begun. By 2050, just 26 years from now, 12 major Philippine cities could vanish beneath the waves or become uninhabitable due to extreme flooding. The harsh reality? Sea levels around the Philippines are rising at 3.3 millimeters annually, according to the Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration. That's faster than the global average of 3.1 millimeters per year. The numbers are staggering. PAGASA's latest climate assessment warns that 13.6 million Filipinos will face direct impacts from coastal flooding within 3 decades. The Asian Development Bank estimates economic losses of $14 billion annually by 2100 if current trends continue. But here's what makes this crisis uniquely devastating. These aren't just statistics on paper. These are ancestral lands where generations have built their lives, economic powerhouses that drive the nation's growth, cultural centers that house centuries of Filipino heritage. From the bustling port cities that established the country's maritime trade networks to the historic settlements that witnessed Spanish colonization, American occupation, and hard-won independence, all now face an enemy that cannot be defeated through courage alone. Today, we're examining 12 cities most at risk, based on official government assessments, international climate studies, and ground truth observations from local communities. Our analysis draws from PAGASA's hazard mapping, the Climate Change Commission's vulnerability studies, and peer-reviewed research from the University of the Philippines Marine Science Institute. Number 1 on our list isn't just sinking. It's already dropped 3 meters below sea level in some areas. These cities represent the front lines of a climate crisis that will reshape the Philippines forever. Let's discover which communities are living on borrowed time. City 12, Dagupan City, Pangasinan. The Bangus capital of the Philippines sits at a geographic crossroads that once meant prosperity. Today, it spells disaster. Dagupan City occupies the convergence point of 4 major rivers, the Calmay, Pantal, Maliwalo, and Toboy, flowing into the Lingayen Gulf. For centuries, this location made Dagupan Central Luzon's trading hub. Spanish galleons loaded supplies here. American forces established supply lines through its ports. Post-independence Philippines built its aquaculture industry around these fertile waters. Now those same waters are rising to reclaim the land. The city experiences flooding events 40% more frequently than 2 decades ago, according to municipal disaster risk reduction records. During Typhoon Pepeng in 2009, floodwaters submerged 80% of Dagupan for 3 weeks. Residents paddled bangkas through downtown streets. The historic city hall became an island. But typhoons tell only part of the story. Dagupan is physically sinking at 2.5 centimeters annually due to excessive groundwater extraction. The city's famous milkfish farms require massive freshwater inputs for pond management and processing operations. Municipal wells, private bore wells, and industrial extraction have drained underground aquifers faster than natural recharge can replenish them. The local government unit's engineering department reports that the century-old Dagupan Cathedral now floods during monthly high tides, a phenomenon locals say never occurred before 2015. The central public market, rebuilt after World War II, requires water pumps during the rainy season to remain operational. Economic impacts ripple across the entire region. Dagupan produces approximately 70% of the Philippines' milkfish supply, supporting over 100,000 families throughout central Luzon's aquaculture value chain. Processing facilities, feed mills, and distribution networks all center on this single city. For overseas Filipino workers with family roots in Pangasinan, Dagupan represents more than economic statistics. It's the hometown that shaped their identity, where remittances built family homes and supported aging parents. Climate displacement threatens to sever these connections permanently. Local climate projections indicate that by 2050, routine high tides will inundate the historic city center, including the cathedral and market areas that have anchored community life for generations. City 11, Tacloban City, Leyte. November 8, 2013. Typhoon Haiyan storm surge crashed into Tacloban City with the force of a liquid mountain, reaching heights of 7.5 meters. The world watched in horror as this eastern Visayas capital was nearly erased from existence. What the international media didn't fully grasp was this sobering truth. Haiyan wasn't an anomaly. It was a preview. Tacloban occupies one of the Philippines' most exposed coastal positions. Built on reclaimed delta land where the San Juanico Strait meets Leyte Gulf, the city sits barely 1.5 meters above mean sea level. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology documents chronic land subsidence at 1.8 centimeters annually as soft sediments compress under urban development pressure. The city's vulnerability stems from its geographic setting. The funnel-shaped San Pablo Bay amplifies storm surge heights through a process called surge amplification. During Haiyan, this natural formation concentrated the storm's energy, turning seawater into a battering ram that demolished concrete structures kilometers inland. Climate modeling by the University of the Philippines Tacloban College indicates that storm surges of 4 to 5 meters will become routine during Category 3 typhoons by mid-century. Combined with projected sea level rise of 23 centimeters by 2050, this means Haiyan level flooding could occur every 5 to 7 years instead of once per generation. The city's 250,000 residents live with this mathematical certainty. The post-Haiyan seawall, engineered for current conditions, will be inadequate by 2040 according to coastal engineering assessments. More critically, Daniel Z. Romualdez Airport and the commercial seaport, both essential for evacuation and relief operations, lie within the projected permanent flood zone. This creates a strategic vulnerability for the Philippines. Tacloban serves as the Eastern Visayas administrative center and houses military installations crucial for disaster response coordination. The city's potential loss would create a defense and governance vacuum in a region already challenged by geographic isolation and insurgency concerns. For the thousands of overseas Filipino workers whose families call Tacloban home, particularly those working in typhoon-prone regions like Japan and the U.S. Gulf Coast, the city's plight resonates deeply. They understand how quickly nature can destroy what generations built. City 10, Marikina City, Metro Manila. Marikina City earned international recognition as a model of flood preparedness. UNESCO awarded it honors for disaster risk reduction. The Philippine government showcased its early warning systems to visiting foreign delegations. The irony is devastating. These very preparations prove why Marikina faces an impossible future. The Marikina River, which gives the city its name and identity, has become its greatest existential threat. This waterway historically provided life, fresh water, fertile soil, transportation routes that connected highland communities to Manila Bay markets. Today, it delivers destruction with increasing frequency and intensity. River gauge data from the past 15 years tells a stark story. The Marikina River's critical flood level stands at 16 meters. During normal conditions, the river runs at 12 to 13 meters depth. When Typhoon Ondoy struck in 2009, it reached 23 meters, submerging entire neighborhoods under 6 meters of rushing water. The city's sophisticated flood warning system, installed at considerable expense after Ondoy, now activates over 300% more frequently than when first deployed. What once were 50-year floods now occur every 3 to 4 years. Emergency evacuation centers designed for occasional use operate nearly year-round during rainy seasons. Here lies the fundamental problem. Marikina occupies a natural floodplain that served for millennia as overflow absorption area during seasonal floods. Urban development eliminated 85% of this natural water retention capacity. Concrete replaced soil, buildings filled wetlands, roads blocked natural drainage patterns. Climate change intensifies this vulnerability. The Philippine Climate Change Commission's regional modeling shows that Ondoy-level rainfall, previously expected once per generation, will occur every 3 to 5 years by 2050 as warming Pacific waters fuel stronger storm systems. The human cost extends beyond flood damages. Marikina houses 450,000 residents, many middle-class professionals who chose the city for its reputation as a well-managed, family-friendly community. Mass displacement would trigger a regional housing crisis, overwhelming adjacent cities' capacity to absorb refugees. Economic impacts would reverberate throughout Metro Manila. Marikina hosts major manufacturing facilities for automotive components, electronics assembly, and the Philippines' remaining shoe production industry. Chronic flooding disrupts supply chains, damages equipment, and forces businesses to relocate, eliminating jobs that support families across the national capital region. City 9, Zamboanga City, Mindanao. Where the Sulu Sea meets the Basilan Strait, Zamboanga City has thrived for centuries as a crossroads of cultures, languages, and trade routes. Spanish colonial architecture mingles with Islamic heritage. Chabacano, a unique Spanish-Filipino Creole, echoes through marketplaces where Tausug, Sama, and Christian merchants conduct business in multiple tongues. This multicultural jewel now faces submersion beneath rising seas and intensifying storms. Zamboanga's vulnerability stems from aggressive land reclamation that expanded the city's footprint by 40% over the past century. Downtown commercial districts, government buildings, and residential areas occupy artificially created land extending into formerly deep water. Geological surveys reveal this reclaimed area is subsiding at 3.2 centimeters annually as soft fill materials compress and settle. The city's strategic importance compounds the crisis. Zamboanga serves as the Philippine military's primary staging area for operations throughout the troubled Sulu archipelago. Naval Station Romulo Espaldon coordinates counter-terrorism efforts against Abu Sayyaf. Edwin Andrews Air Base supports surveillance flights over disputed waters, where Chinese vessels increasingly challenge Philippine sovereignty. Both installations sit directly in projected flood zones. Typhoon Paolo in 2012 provided a glimpse of Zamboanga's future. Storm surges reached 4.2 meters, inundating the historic downtown area where Fort Pilar has stood since Spanish colonizers built it in 1635. The flooding forced evacuation of 100,000 residents and caused extensive damage to cultural heritage sites. Climate modeling indicates that Paolo-level surges will become routine during typical typhoons by the 2040s as warmer ocean temperatures fuel more intense storms. The city's seawall, built for historical storm patterns, cannot handle projected surge heights. The cultural implications are profound. Fort Pilar houses irreplaceable artifacts documenting 400 years of Filipino-Spanish Muslim interaction. The National Museum warns that continued flooding threatens structural integrity and could destroy historical materials that survived Spanish conquest, American occupation, Japanese invasion, and decades of regional conflict. For overseas Filipino workers, particularly those in Spain, Mexico, and other Spanish-speaking countries, Zamboanga represents a tangible link to shared colonial history and multicultural identity. The potential loss of this unique city would sever connections to a distinctive Filipino heritage found nowhere else. Local government officials estimate that by 2050, routine high tides will flood the city center, forcing relocation of military installations and potentially ending Zamboanga's role as the Philippines' gateway to the Sulu region. City 8, Iloilo City, Panay Island. The Queen City of the South earned her royal title through centuries of maritime commerce and cultural refinement. Spanish galleons carried silver from Acapulco to Iloilo's protected harbor. Chinese junks loaded sugar and textiles for Canton markets. American steamships transported hemp and rice to growing West Coast cities. Today, these same waters threaten to reclaim the city they once enriched. Iloilo occupies a strategic position at the mouth of the Iloilo River, where it empties into the Iloilo Strait. This geography provided natural advantages: deep water for large vessels, river access to interior agricultural regions, strait protection from direct ocean storms. Urban planners chose this location wisely in 1566 when establishing one of the Philippines' first Spanish settlements. Climate change has turned geographic blessing into existential curse. Sea level monitoring by the University of the Philippines Visayas shows accelerating rise rates of 3.8 millimeters annually in Iloilo Strait, higher than the national average. Combined with increasingly intense typhoons drawing energy from warming Pacific waters, this creates compound flooding threats the city cannot withstand. The transformation is measurable in sacred spaces. Molo Church, declared a national cultural treasure for its Gothic Revival architecture, now experiences flooding during monthly high tides. Parish records show no such incidents before 2018. Jaro Cathedral, seat of the Archdiocese of Jaro since 1865, requires sandbags during storm seasons to protect centuries-old religious artifacts. Infrastructure collapse accelerates with each flood cycle. The Iloilo commercial port handles 60% of cargo traffic for Panay Island, connecting sugar plantations, rice farms, and seafood processing facilities to Manila and international markets. Port warehouses flood during high tide combinations with heavy rainfall, damaging agricultural exports and disrupting supply chains across the central Philippines. Educational institutions face particular challenges. The University of the Philippines Visayas, established in 1918, occupies historic buildings in flood-prone Jaro District. Student dormitories evacuate 15 to 20 times yearly, compared to 3 to 4 times in the 1990s. Academic calendars now accommodate flood days that disrupt semester schedules. Urban heritage suffers irreversible damage. Iloilo's ancestral homes, built by sugar and tobacco fortunes during the late Spanish colonial period, feature architectural details and construction techniques that cannot survive repeated saltwater exposure. Each flood dissolves mortar, warps hardwood, and corrodes metal fixtures that took master craftsmen months to create. By 2050, hydrological modeling indicates that the historic city center will experience permanent tidal inundation during high tide cycles. The economic ripple effects could devastate Panay Island's agricultural economy, which depends entirely on Iloilo's port infrastructure for market access. For the 450,000 residents, many from families that have called Iloilo home for generations, the city's decline represents more than property loss. It's the erosion of cultural identity rooted in centuries of Western Visayas history. City 7, General Santos City, South Cotabato. Known as the tuna capital of the Philippines, General Santos City built its success on the sea. Its fisheries supply most of the nation's canned tuna and support hundreds of thousands of livelihoods. But prosperity has come at a cost. Decades of massive groundwater extraction for industry and households have caused the land to sink over 4 centimeters each year, among the fastest rates in Southeast Asia. As the city sinks, rising seas and shifting typhoon paths push storm surges farther inland. Typhoon Paolo exposed the danger when seawater flooded tuna processing plants, destroying equipment and halting production. These facilities sit directly at sea level, increasingly vulnerable to saltwater intrusion. By the 2040s, officials warn that routine flooding could make large-scale tuna processing impossible, threatening food security and regional livelihoods. City 6, Caloocan City, Metro Manila. Home to more than 1.5 million people, Caloocan City lies at the heart of northern Metro Manila's flood crisis. Multiple rivers converge here, turning the city into a catch basin for stormwater from across the region. Rapid urbanization erased wetlands and waterways, stripping away natural flood defenses. At the same time, excessive groundwater pumping causes the land to sink nearly 3 centimeters each year. Combined with rising seas, some neighborhoods are effectively dropping 5 centimeters annually. During major storms, entire districts disappear underwater for days. Informal settlements along waterways face the greatest risk, with limited options for relocation. Flooding disrupts factories, destroys homes built with overseas remittances, and threatens a humanitarian crisis. By 2040, catastrophic flooding could become a regular part of life in Caloocan. City 5, Navotas City. Called the fishing capital of the Philippines, Navotas faces a brutal irony. The sea that sustained it for generations now threatens to erase it. Nearly the entire city sits less than 1 meter above sea level, making it Metro Manila's most flood-vulnerable community. Navotas is sinking fast. Excessive groundwater extraction has caused land subsidence exceeding 5 centimeters every year, trapping neighborhoods in bowl-shaped depressions that flood even during normal high tides. The Navotas Fish Port Complex, supplying most of Metro Manila's seafood, already floods regularly with contaminated seawater, threatening food safety and livelihoods. Fishing families who passed down maritime knowledge for centuries now time daily life around tidal charts. By 2050, projections show routine high tides permanently covering streets. Climate change here doesn't just destroy homes, it dismantles an entire way of life built around the sea. City 4, Malabon City. Malabon City is sinking faster than any other part of Metro Manila, up to 6.5 centimeters every year. Built on soft river delta soil and strained by relentless groundwater extraction, the city is collapsing beneath its own weight. Located where major rivers converge, Malabon becomes a trap when heavy rain meets high tide. Floodwater has nowhere to go. Streets turn into lakes. Homes remain submerged for days. Roads crack, buildings tilt, and sewage backs up into living spaces. The damage reaches beyond infrastructure. Malabon's famous longanisa industry, built on centuries-old family traditions, faces extinction as floods contaminate production areas. Schools close repeatedly. Clinics shut down. Elderly residents are left stranded. Climate projections warn that by 2050, most of Malabon could face permanent tidal flooding, placing the city on the edge of disappearance. City 3, Las Piñas City. Once known as the Philippines' salt capital, Las Piñas now faces salt water from a far more dangerous source, rising Manila Bay. Decades of coastal reclamation replaced mangrove forests with malls, subdivisions, and concrete seawalls, erasing the city's natural storm protection. As the land sinks nearly 5 centimeters each year, seawater pushes inland, flooding coastal barangays even on sunny days. Roads, drainage systems, and power lines weren't built for daily tidal flooding. The city's most fragile treasure is at risk. The bamboo organ of St. Joseph Parish Church, a national cultural treasure crafted in 1824. Monthly floods and salt-laden air now threaten its delicate bamboo pipes. By the 2040s, engineers warn that routine high tides could shut down major commercial areas, turning suburban stability into coastal uncertainty. City 2, Muntinlupa City. Muntinlupa sits in a geographic trap found nowhere else in the country, caught between Manila Bay's rising tides and Laguna de Bay's overflowing waters. When storms hit, floodwater has nowhere to go. The city becomes a basin that fills but cannot drain. Even elite communities like Ayala Alabang now experience recurring floods, while Philinvest Corporate City, employing hundreds of thousands, sits on subsiding land that regularly goes underwater. During Typhoon Ondoy, the business district was submerged for days, paralyzing operations across Metro Manila. The most alarming risk lies at New Bilibid Prison, home to nearly 30,000 inmates in one of the city's lowest areas. Officials quietly acknowledge relocation may be unavoidable. By 2040, routine flooding could destabilize southern Metro Manila's economy and housing market. City 1, Malolos City. At number 1 stands Malolos, the birthplace of Philippine democracy, now sinking faster than any major city in the country. Large sections already lie 3 meters below sea level, and the ground continues collapsing by more than 7 centimeters every year. Uncontrolled groundwater extraction has drained aquifers beyond recovery, causing irreversible land subsidence. Today, Malolos floods during every high tide, streets become rivers twice daily, businesses close around tidal schedules. Even Barasoain Church, where the first Philippine constitution was ratified, now requires sandbags and pumps as seawater reaches its steps. Beyond the city, saltwater intrusion is destroying central Luzon's rice fields, threatening food security for millions. Scientists warn Malolos is a preview of coastal Philippines' future, compressed into one devastating reality. 12 cities, 26 years, millions of lives suspended between staying and surviving. This isn't a distant future buried in scientific papers. It's happening now, on flooded streets, inside sandbagged churches, and in homes rebuilt again and again. Every high tide pulls tomorrow closer. Every typhoon proves the warnings were too conservative. In places like Malolos City, history floods twice a day. At Barasoain Church, democracy itself now stands behind water pumps. From Tacloban City to Zamboanga City, the climate crisis has arrived ahead of schedule. Yet this story is not one of surrender. Filipino resilience has survived colonization, war, and disaster. Communities are restoring mangroves, redesigning cities, and inventing ways to live with water rather than fight it. The real question isn't whether Filipinos will adapt, they always do. The question is what the Philippines becomes as coastlines retreat and millions are forced to move. What will your hometown look like in 2050? That question isn't for the future, it's for today. Because our children will inherit whatever world we prepare for them. Let's make sure it's still a place they can call home.